I imagine that you didn't set out, you're just like grabbing a wave, like, cool bracelet, man. I think I could resell these. You weren't like, hey, this is going to be like a giant company. It was just like sort of worked out that way at some point. How did that transition happen from sort of a spur of the moment or semi spur of the moment thing to accelerating into an empire?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with any big success or with anything that requires a bunch of hard work, it never happens overnight. And I think with me and Paul, we've always been very lean and disciplined, and we've been very scrappy and bootstrap kind of style. We were born in the Facebook and Instagram era with influencers and social media reach and ads and content creation and all this stuff that probably didn't really exist 5 or 10 years ago. Yeah. So I think, we've always been at the forefront. We've been innovators. And over time, just kind of finding ways to growth hack Shopify and Instagram and kind of just like climbing our way to the top of the social ladder. That's what's allowed us to scale our business to, 1.5 million followers on Instagram, donating $1.7 million to charity, and then taking over 600 artisans out of poverty, giving them full-time jobs.
I want to go back about 8.5 years, as you said, and have you talk to us about that pivot point when you began to realize the importance, as you said, growing up in kind of the social kind of realm, but how did you decide, okay, you know what, we're going to go from maybe selling these through a traditional retailing channel to really making this brand what it is and where it is today using social media? What was that first point? What was that first social channel? And kind of how did that propel you to where you are today?
I think for us, we just wanted to find a very easy way to make the business scalable. And I think for me and Paul, just sitting at our desk and walking around to stores throughout San Diego and LA and asking them to buy our products, I think we really had to walk before we run in that scenario. So for us, we really wanted to build the social following. We wanted to build that credibility online, the social proof with customer reviews before really trying to kind of go only the brick and mortar route. So from day one, we've always been selling products to surf shops, yoga studios, fitness places, gift stores. And I think by having the approach where we go both ways through brick and mortar as well as e-commerce, it's allowed us to kind of create a very sustainable brand where the customers can touch the products in person, they could buy it online, they could refer their friends through social media. And I think that kind of like full 360 scenario has allowed us to really grow the brand and kind of do it both ways with like the new kind of techie way through Instagram and kind of the old more brick and mortar route with the retail stores.
As we talked about here on the show, Adam, a few months ago when Jen Herman was on the podcast, we talked about that Instagram isn't really one thing, right? There's a lot of different sort of strategies there. So Griffin, can you talk a little bit about stills versus video versus carousels versus stories versus IGTV and kind of what your experiences have been there and kind of what best practices have proven to be for Pura Vida, knowing, of course, that best practices will differ based on the brand. But what has worked for you and maybe what hasn't worked?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, we focus on just static photos. I think that it really hits people home when they see a photo on their feed. They're using their thumb to scroll past the photos really quickly, but when they stop and pause on your photo and give it a like, I mean, it means you're doing something right. You're really stopping the traffic that's on their newsfeed and saying, hey, look at me. I think with videos, you kind of want to sprinkle them in. I don't think any brand should go only video. I don't think that's a good move either. But I think for us, it's being very, photo heavy, photo optimized, understanding what type of photo the customers want to see. And then kind of, experimenting with the other things, the carousel, adding a couple different photos. If maybe we're having a behind the scenes photo shoot or if we're doing something on the blog or kind of a recap of an event we had, and we don't want to post those event photos 5 times, I think there's a good reason to maybe post all 5 photos in one kind of carousel. But yeah, I mean, I think for us, anything that we're doing on our Instagram, we feel is the best for the brand. We're always testing, we're always innovating. I think in terms of the times we do post, we feel that they're very optimized for our customer base. And yeah, I mean, we're excited about our strategy. We're growing by thousands of followers every single day. We're about to hit 1.5 million any day now. I think we're like 5K away. And yeah, we're excited about the platform, and it's definitely been able to expand our brand further than we've ever thought.
I'm curious, if you have any protocol or process by which people, tag their pictures, and do you just then kind of immediately use those, or do you go through any approval process to get permission curious if there's anything that you're doing on your end as part of a protocol or process in that regard.
I mean, I think for us, we just want to have very like high res, crisp photography. We have a very tight group of influencers that we work with. We're always sourcing new ones. We really want to portray that kind of fun, beachy, free-spirited, live-free vibe. And if you look at our Instagram feed and just scroll down, I mean, we have about 6,373 posts, and I would say all of them tell a very similar story. And a lot of people have told us that when they see a photo floating around, whether it's our edit or one of our models or kind of our vibe, they're like, I thought that was the Pura Vida post because it looks like your guys' vibe.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, by the way. Your consistency is first rate, like the visual consistency, the lighting, the color usage. A lot of brands could learn a lot from what you're doing on Instagram, because it feels very much part of a long-term project, and too many folks are engaged in random acts of Instagram, and what you're doing is a great lesson.